everybody, how you guys doing? It's Yvonne here, and this is my first video of 2021. I said I'd be back early after the new year, and this is it. And I'd like to start off with not a card, not a scrapbook page, not something like that. I'm just going to go back to basics for the first video and share with you a guide to ink pads, at least the ones that I have. So we're going to talk about Memento Inks. Memento Inks is a very popular ink. You can find them pretty much anywhere in different colors. I have only Tuxedo Black because that's what I use. And these water-based, fade-resistant inks will keep you, it'll help you achieve crisp, clean images. It's ideal for outlining images and sentiments. This ink dries quickly, so it isn't one to pick for heat embossing. Remember that. But it's ideal for coloring with alcohol markers because it won't smudge. So I love to use this with my Copics. I use it all the time because I love my Copics and Spectrum Noir markers and so forth. So any alcohol ink will be perfect to use with this. It's so much fun. But there are other brands. There's Ultra Crisp Ink Pad and Finesse Spectrum Noir also that does the same job. But I've always used Momentum, so I can actually vouch for Memento Ink. I absolutely love it. Now we're going to get to the Distress Ink. Distress Ink is from Tim Holtz, Ranger Tim Holtz, and this is a water-reactive ink pad. They're perfect for blending and building up a depth of color, but it does not take longer to dry, and its best results are achieved by using with light-colored cardstock. So this kind of sinks into the cardstock, and it's easy. You can blend in really gradient colors and so forth. It's something that I have a lot of, these distress inks, and I use them on a regular basis. I absolutely love them because they're water reactive, so we can have so much fun. And the color can be lifted using water. If you apply the ink to a glass mat, you can use the paintbrush to use as watercolors. So you can actually take this and sponge it on a piece of glass or one of your blocks, your stamp blocks, and use your watercolor paintbrush, run it in, and then you can water paint with these. They're just awesome to have. Now there are other brands. There's the Aldean's Ice Ink Dye Ink Pad or the Spectrum Noir Harmony Water Reactive Dye Ink Pads that you'll find. That's perfect. It's a match with this. It does the same thing, but I can't say if they're good or not good. I've never used them. I have a whole lot of colors of this Distress ink, and I use it. As you can tell, the cover's even smudged. It's something that I use a lot. Now, moving on to the Distress Oxide. So this is the same idea. It's from Ranger Tim Holtz. And Distress Oxide inks, it's a water-reactive paint, a dye ink, just like the Distress ink, but it has a Pigment Ink infusion. It stamps images, it blends beautifully, and gives you the oxide effects when it's treated with water. It also makes a great opaque watercolor paint when picked up from a glass mat with a water brush. So what they're saying is that it's a lot more solid, and when you use this on your glass block and then you use this, it'll be more opaque because it's going to sit on top. It's not going to sink into the cardstock. So you can use this one, and you can use another one. You can blend them in, but they'll sit on top of each other versus blending in like Distress ink will blend in. You can merge it in, but it'll sit on top of one another like so, instead of blending all in and becoming one color. I hope it's clear enough for you guys. Now there's another ink. You normally don't call this an ink, but it is watermark stamp ink pad. What this does, it has no color. It's like a glue. It's sticky, clear pigment that sits on cardstock, and it's perfect for adding embossing powder. That's how we pretty much know it for. Now, it's usually clear, but you can get tinted versions of it. I myself have never seen it, but you can get them. And it's also available for different uses, I suspect. But try using it alone. Try using a clear one alone, watermark effect on a darker cardstock. It's beautiful. If you use this with a stamp and use it on a black cardstock, you can see it. It's all shiny. You dry it with your heat gun. It gives you a perfect image. If you want it lifted that much more, you add some clear embossing powder on it, and you have it made. Or use colored if you're using it on a white cardstock or a light cardstock, I should say. Try using it alone for a watermark effect, like I told you, or on dark cardstock, or brush with mica powder to create a soft pattern effect. Both Versamark and Ranger Perfect Medium ink pads are perfect for using with your embossing powders. To me, this Versamark is the best. I particularly really like it. I have 3 ink pads going all the time because I never know what I just like to have it on my fingertips, and I usually do. They're all with my ink pads. Now, going on, there is also another ink pad that I don't have that is quite popular. It's called Stays On. Now, you've seen these all over the place. They're alcohol ink pads. I don't carry them myself. It's just a personal preference. It's because you need a special solvent to clean them up, and I like something that I can just clean with a sponge, with water and soap and regular stuff with my ink cleaning pad. I don't particularly use it for that reason, but it is a dye-based ink. It's permanent, and it'll quickly dry. That won't stay wet very long. It's perfect for using on non-porous surfaces such as glossy paper, acetate, metal, and plastic. Bottles of alcohol ink are ideal for creating inky backgrounds, but be aware that the stamps require cleaning with solvent cleaner after using this ink. So this is what I mean about that. I find Stays On and Ranger are both produce alcohol ink. Both produce alcohol ink. Pardon me. So it's an ink that is very very useful if you don't mind cleaning it with solvent. I particularly don't, so this is why I don't have any. But now going back for the Archival Ink from Ranger. This water-resistant dye ink pad is waterproof. It's a permanent dye ink, and it's ideal for creating crisp, clean images, which makes it perfect for creating outline images and sentiments. The ink soaks into the cardstock, so it's ideal when using on lighter cardstock. You can happily color images stamped with water-resistant ink using your favorite watercolors, and watch your watercolor markers just create a beautiful image. There's this Ranger Archive ink, but you can also find this type of ink on Finesse by Spectrum Noir waterproof inks to find your favorite. I particularly like the Archival ink from Ranger, but that's, again, it's just a preference. There are other out there if you would need to buy. This is perfect to use. It sinks into the cardstock versus sitting on top. It dries quickly, and because it sinks in, it doesn't sit on top. It's not going to smudge when you get to use it with your watercolors. This Momentum is perfect to use with your alcohol inks. These are markers. These are perfect to use with your water-based markers. Now, another one that you can use that is very helpful is your VersaFine. Your VersaFine Pigment Ink for fine details is the pigment ink is glycerin based and dries slowly and will provide you with a good crisp outline. So the ink sits on the surface of the cardstock. So to avoid smudging, you'll need to heat dry it. Now I use it not only that way, but I use it all the time as using with a clear embossing powder. I find it's perfect because it stays wet. So I don't have to use Versamark. I just use this ink, whether it be on sentiments, pictures, flowers, whatever. This Versamark ink, I'll use it, and then I emboss it with clear embossing powder, and it makes a beautiful image, and then I can color inside the lines. It's great. These are the ones that I have, and again, it's just my opinion. Nobody paid me to say anything about this. It's just what I like. But I thought maybe going back to basics would give you an idea what inks are all about, because now on the market there are so many that it's almost difficult to know which one you're going to need. And if you end up getting a Memento ink and you use some water-based markers with it right away, you're going to have some smudging and you wonder why and so forth. So these are what I know about these inks that I'd like to share with you guys today, and I hope you enjoy it too. This is Yvonne. I'm going to leave you for now, but I will check back with you later on, and I'll have another video for you next Monday on my channel. Thank you for joining me today, and have yourself a wonderful day. Bye-bye.